Hey, what's up guys? Gonz here for the Face Like the Sun channel. Just wanted to play for you this week's Canary Cry News Talk. I can definitely make a video for each one of these stories covered in this episode. I think they're relevant, I think they're important, but as usual, me and Basil goof off a little bit and relay to you guys the details of the story, kind of shooting from the hip. And just keep in mind, I know the tone is a little bit different when I do news talk with Basil, but that's kind of the point. He's a good friend and we just hang out and we talk, and might as well discuss these topics and bring it to you in a way that's not so doom and gloom. It's happening and it's terrifying, some of the stuff that we relay, but we have a true hope that is beyond all that. We do not have a spirit of fear, but of a sound mind. And so enjoy this episode of Canary Cry News Talk. You can download the podcast and get it on your mobile device so you can have it as soon as it uploads. Remember, this channel wouldn't be possible without you guys. Please consider supporting us on Patreon. Have an awesome day, guys. God bless.
The world is getting crazier. People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. Tomorrow. There's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy.
You are listening to Canary Cry News Talk.
You're listening to Canary Cry News Talk. It is May 9th, 2017. This week, smart cities, superbugs, and cyborg insects. My name's Basil.
And this is Gonz. It's a bird, it's a plane, it's trans insectoids.
That was a good one. That was a really good one. I suppose let's actually start with that one. This week, guys, we've got a few... This page isn't redirecting properly.
That's what I told you. It was messing
I know
up
it wasn't
earlier,
working.
But yeah.
They're trying to hide the cyborg dragonflies from us. Good thing I have it open here. So we've all heard of robot insect drones that can be piloted by human beings for the purposes of surveillance, purportedly for counterterrorism and things like that. But now we have taken it a step further. Researchers from the Howard Hughes Medical Institute have now created cyborg dragonflies. That's right. Half robot, half actual dragonfly. And according to them, the same uses will be, they chose a dragonfly because of the four wings, and they've got a 360-degree motion with hovering and things like that. A little bit better than maybe a fly or a bee or something. But here's the problem. It's not a robot. They're taking actual dragonflies and defiling them with technology. Using some research they did involving the neurons in their eyes, using lights and simulated lights within the dragonfly's eye to steer them. What have we done? This is an abomination.
Yeah, it says here, how does the dragonfly operate? And it says HHMI conducted research into the steering neurons that control flight in the dragonfly's nervous system by using synthetic biology and inserting genes similar to those in eyes. The team was able to make these steering neurons sensitive to light. So
they're actually steering a living dragonfly.
Yeah. And
they have the name for this project, by the way. Gon, since you love it so much, why don't you tell us about it?
It's called Dragonfly. No, hold on. It's Dragonfly. Okay,
yeah, I like it like eyeball.
Yeah,
just the worst name.
Yeah, I mean, really terrible name.
If you were trying to figure out some sort of surveillance project in a Hollywood movie, you would call it this Dragonfly. Yeah. So here we go, guys. We have now moved out of the realm of robot bees, which I believe we've reported on before. And now we just have the enslavement of an entire race of insects into the transhumanist agenda.
Yeah, but they got to do it to the bugs first, right? What did the dragonflies ever do to these people over at the Howard Hughes Medical Institute?
It's those four wings, man. There's four wings and they're creepy long butts.
It's interesting too. We didn't mention it, but this article is published on Fox News Tech, so it's not like some obscure article. And it was written by Allison Berry, I think. Allison Berry. She seems to be all about guns and that kind of thing. But it's interesting here because she wraps up the article with a whole section beyond surveillance and talks about, and they always do this, right? With these advancing technologies, they always tie it to the medical world, right? And so they have the potential to help humans in other ways in the future, including improved medical treatments in agriculture.
Yeah, the weird thing is, it was the Howard Hughes Medical Institute. Howard Hughes, not a surprise, but a medical institute creating cyborg dragonflies for the military and the government. Now, here's some quotes from the article. There are two fundamental parts to transforming the insect into stealthy recon teams: backpacks for the dragonflies to wear, and changes made inside the insect. It uses technology on the inside and outside of the dragonfly to be able to steer it and control its data collection. Each drone is fitted with a standard issue tiny backpack, which includes a guidance system with miniaturized. They put backpack in quotes too, so thank you very much.
Well, they got a picture.
It's not a Jan sport. It's a quote backpack. Which includes a guidance system with miniaturized advanced navigation, energy harvesting, and optical stimulation technology. That's how they steer it. Special neurons are also put inside the dragonfly nerve cord. Guidance commands are sent from the backpack. These connect with these special neurons that then help to steer. This is just the most bizarre thing. And you got to keep in mind, it starts with the insects, like you said, Gons. But this is how you would make a controlled human being.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, if the only thing separating the control between a human being and this dragonfly is the dragonfly instinctually follows these sort of light signals that it gets inside its eyeballs. And they found a way to, the scientists, that is, found a way to work themselves into those eyeballs and use light from special neurons to steer the dragonfly, giving it the senses, the senses that the instincts will guide it where they want it to go.
Right. Well, I think the most troubling part of this is the mention of honeybees, because the honeybees have been struggling already, right? And it's probably due to some of the the HARP technology or whatever that they're messing with the environment. But they want to help the bees. So what are they going to do? They're going to equip them with the Dragonfly system so researchers can monitor their health and behavior.
Yeah, why would they need the ability to control them in order to help? That's just like the elites.
It's just a microcosm of everything that we'd ever talked about.
In order to help them, we must control them. Yeah, okay. Thanks. You can keep your tiny backpack. All right. Anyways,
biology eyeballs or whatever that they got going on. This is crazy.
Yeah,
this is not. I know. This is not cool. Really.
I know. I'll pass. It would be kind of cool to have them on a cat, though. Just send my cat around.
Maybe they're already in cats. Maybe that's the whole alien thing.
My cat just jumped on my lap. Are you in there, NSA? Why do you want from me? Okay. Now let's move on to some more. Talk about some other bugs here. Now we have some super bugs, and this. Why don't you tell us about this article, Gons?
Oh, okay. You're just gonna throw it to me like that, huh?
I'm just tossing it to you because I did not have the tab open. Here we go.
Okay, so truthout.org, which I'd never actually heard of this website before.
To be fair, let's disclaim that this is the first thing we've seen from this website.
Right,
so.
Yeah. And it says here by Madeline Davies, the Bureau of Investigative Journalism report. And the reason why we included it was because they had source documents that look like they're actually the actual studies that they cite here.
They did cite. Yeah, they did cite the peer-reviewed journals, and we've taken a little bit of time to look through there. So we thought you'd let you guys know if we figure anything out. Any falsehood, we will let you know as soon as we can. But so far, it seems to be tracking.
Yeah. Big Pharma's pollution is creating deadly superbugs while the world looks the other way. The Indian pharmaceutical companies making medicines for nearly all the world's major drug companies is fueling the creation of deadly superbugs, suggests new research. Global health authorities have no regulations in place to stop this from happening. And, it's pretty alarming when you read through this. It's a pretty long article, but
yeah. So the gist of it is that here's one thing that actually kind of blew my mind. India is famous for its pharmaceuticals manufacturing, but maybe not even the pharmaceuticals themselves. But one thing we don't consider is that there's factories, giant factories devoted to just creating the ingredients to pharmaceuticals. And India is the Indian city of Hyderabad. It has about 30 of these factories. And what these German researchers have found is in the seawater outside of this city is extremely high levels of pharmaceutical runoff from all these factories.
Right.
Now what's happening is that the runoff from these factories, is specifically antibacterials and antifungals, are pouring into the oceans. Probably at the beginning, we're just killing bacteria and killing fungus. But it seems that now, after years of this happening, certain bacteria and fungi have been developing resistances to some of the world's most popular antibacterials and antifungals, creating dangerous, scary, horrifying, drug-resistant diseases.
It's almost like they're giving, they're giving in the blueprint, right? And then nature is like, oh, this is what trying to toss out there. Well, we'll fight it, and the superbug is created. But the alarming part of the article here that jumped out at me, the amounts of antimicrobials found in the new test were, quote, eye-wateringly high, said Dr. Mark Holmes, a microbiologist at the University of Cambridge. Quote, the quantities involved mean the amount in the water is almost the same as a therapeutic dose.
That's crazy.
There's a lot of
You can just go
stuff.
drink the water and get the benefits of the pharmaceuticals. Now, here's one thing I am going to point out here. The article states that the researchers tested 28 water samples in and around Patancheru Bolaram industrial zone on the outskirts of the city, where more than 30 drug manufacturing companies supplying nearly all the world's major drug companies are based. Thousands of tons of pharmaceutical waste are produced by the factories each day, the paper says. Now, just from what I understand of the scientific process, especially in today's world, and especially when it comes to pharmaceuticals, 28 samples is a very low amount of samples.
Yeah.
Usually for something to be taken seriously by, whoever's really in power at the time, you got to at least have a few hundred or a few thousand samples. But this is pretty much stating that all 28 water samples without exception were just ridiculously high. Now you got to consider there were 30 factories and 28 water samples. They could have just been like measuring the water, like right, I don't know, at the pipes or something. But still, this is a terrifying.
Didn't they verify that it's in the water supply? So it's kind of the problem is because of the various factories, you can't trace it to one. It can't just be like, oh, that factory because they're whatever, blah blah blah. The other part of it that's part of this article is that there are no proper coherent regulations from global institutions like the UN or the World Health Organization or whoever, and that's not surprising. They always kind of turn a blind eye to some of the stuff that's more damaging.
Well, especially when it comes to big pharma. I mean, when you got big pharma paying for anything, you're gonna have a long battle to try to get any regulation in some of these second to third world countries. And that's kind of the thing. It's not usually our style to rise up as big eco warriors here, although there are some very important eco issues that need to be addressed. And this is certainly one of them, because in everybody's doomsday predictions, a superbug seems to be the highest probability of huge disaster that could strike the earth sooner rather than later. And the unregulation of big pharma across the board, not just these factories, is causing a lot of world problems. And you know what, man? Hey, here's a tip. Follow the money. Follow the money, y'all. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Yeah, well, what they want to do, tying it to the last story, is, first off, send in a swarm of dragonflies or flies and get them. You really hate it when I say that.
Stop saying it. It's the worst name
funny.
for anything ever. And it should never be repeated. Whoever thought up the name Dragonfly needs to lose their job, and that's it. I mean, I wish them the best.
The other thing is
not good.
The other thing is, one way to prevent from this sort of thing to affect us is for the pharmaceutical company to provide an even more fail-safe way to protect ourselves, and that's just complete change in the DNA.
There you go.
There you go. Take this thing and take this vaccine, and you will be not only will you be immune to this superbug, but you will grow. I don't know, invisible sensors in your. I don't know, whatever. Come on, come up with something.
It's gonna send I'm just gonna send the nanobots to attach to your spinal cord and behind your eyeballs, and then you get a special standard issue fancy backpack from the government, and then boom, you're a faithful servant.
Yeah, that'll be crazy. Your own will versus the government's will, like in your head.
Yeah,
literally.
I like to think maybe they wouldn't even change the control mechanism. You just start seeing little flashes in your eyeballs. And they're like, why isn't he responding? Yeah. And then I'm like, I need more sleep. This is not, I'm seeing weird stuff. Okay. You want to move on? We're breezing right through this.
Yeah, let's do it.
We might actually get to the last story for once in our careers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about, you want to talk about smart cities?
Yeah. Financial Post. Google parent Alphabet applies to turn 12 acres of Toronto's waterfront into connected high-tech city. And, we've heard a lot about the smart cities and stuff, but now you have Larry Page of Alphabet Inc., the higher up of Google, applying for, or, has applied to develop 12-acre strip in downtown Toronto. And, those poor Canadians up there, they're going to be under, universal income or whatever.
It's
basic
always
income.
The Canadians, man. Yeah. It's the Canadians. They're the wave of the future. If you're up there in good old Canada, you're getting all the fancy stuff before anybody else does. You're getting your basic income, and now you get your smart city. This is going to be an interesting thing. Here's a quote from the article. In a speech last week at the Smart Cities NYC conference, Sidewalk Labs chief, Sidewalk Labs is the company who's going to be looking into this, executive officer Dan Doktorov said the firm...
It's a really interesting name.
Yeah, there you go. Said the firm is exploring development of a large-scale district. I'm sure many of you are thinking this is a crazy idea, Doktorov said, according to the news website State Scoop. We don't think it's crazy at all. People thought it was crazy when Google decided to connect all the world's information. People thought it was crazy to think about the concept of a self-driving car. A representative for Sidewalk Labs confirmed Doktorov's speech, but declined to comment further. Doktorov was CEO of Bloomberg LP and worked as a deputy. Yeah, he's got some, he's a lot of Bloomberg stuff going on with him. So yeah, this is an interesting situation. One of the quotes from the article too, they are going to basically build a prototype smart city that is going to be designed from the internet up.
Right. So it's like instead of the people's needs or necessary goods and services or whatever, we're starting with the internet. That's the first thing that's going to be considered for the city, which is obviously a smart city. And you also have, they're trying to get some mobile technologies or technology companies to come on board. They're looking at Uber to join in on the fun, which I don't think it'll take much to convince that guy. Whoever that guy, whatever that guy, I don't remember his name.
Yeah, Uber guy,
hey, come to Canada.
He's been in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
We've probably been mind controlled to forget his name. We probably paid a lot of money to some marketing firms so we would forget his name.
Yeah,
that's embarrassing.
That is definitely possible because I have no recollection of his name, which is okay.
Yeah. There you go. Well, it's going to be an interesting situation, folks, up there in Toronto. You tell us how it goes. But it's going to be waterfront, and it's going to have everything. I mean, every new technology, especially coming out of Alphabet, which is basically just a collection of all the most intense technology companies. This is going to be the first prototype of like the city of the future.
Yeah, and if you
And so-
if you don't agree with it, or if you think it's kind of, if you're against it, you're they're going to push that whole narrative of like, oh, you're holding back society. It's that whole argument is going to become very I think hostile as these types of cities develop, and there's opposition from people, not just, I'm not saying even Christians, just like people saying like, hey, we should be really trying to help the rest of the people who are hungry,
Well, it's going to be interesting because you got to think of what's in a smart city like this. First of all, there's going to be a lot of clean energy, probably some solar, the solar,
solar powered stuff.
What is it? Solar tiles, on the roofs, all the streets, maybe they'll work in some of those super soaker streets with the solar powers in there. There's going to be high speed Wi-Fi everywhere. There's going to be all this kind of fancy
voice activation for everything, probably.
Well, see, here's what I'm thinking is, if you're going to live in this part of the smart city, you're going to have your maybe RFID chip, maybe, I don't know, just saying.
Well, I'm sure that's where they want to get.
Because as you walk down the street, or even facial recognition technology, all the stuff we've been seeing in sci-fi movies. Here's an interesting thing as well, is they talked about how they're actually going to make it financially viable, and they go a lot into Sidewalk Labs, who got their start putting Wi-Fi kiosks in I believe New York, which are funded by ad revenue. So you can get free internet, but there's going to be a bunch of ad revenue. What I think will be fascinating to see if it pops up in these smart cities is like in all the sci-fi movies. What's the one with Tom Cruise? I don't know.
Minority
all
Report.
of them. Minority Report, where the advertisements, in the subway and on the billboards are directed specifically at you. Either it's facial recognition, iris scanning, or something like an RFID chip that recognizes that it's you coming up, and then a personalized ad comes up right there on the street.
Yeah.
Which, we've seen some embarrassing things happen with this personalized ad stuff. Just, like the girl who was getting pregnancy coupons from Target when she was 15, didn't even know she was pregnant, stuff like that. Well, imagine getting all those embarrassing ads that pop up on your Facebook once in a while. I think I mentioned this on the air.
Basil, check out the new nose hair trimmer.
It was basically Match.com for what was it? For Muslims, for like white guys looking for Muslim women.
Oh.
And it's like really weird. I'm
that
like,
came up
why?
On your thing?
It did. I think it's because, we're looking into all this sorts of stuff. He's like, oh, he's a white guy and he's reading a bunch about Muslim stuff. I guess this is what he's into. I know, it's very strange. But what I'm saying is first of all, AI
is not very smart. That's a lot of assumptions, AI.
That's what I'm saying. There's a lot of assumptions involved, and it's just them trying to sell ads. It's just whoever is creating the ad is like, well, if they're a white guy and they read an article about Muslims, then this is what they want.
This is what they want.
Yeah. So anyways, but I mean, imagine that popping up on a billboard as you're walking down the street for everybody to see. I don't know. It's going to be weird.
Well, maybe everyone doesn't see it because it's only to your, your virtual or augmented glasses or whatever.
Ooh, your augmented reality eyeballs.
Yeah.
You're connecting the dots, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. There you go. And you're all going to get a special backpack and just ignore the intravenous
light flashes in your eyeball.
Ignore the power cord that goes into your spine.
Yeah. Well, if they're not going to get us through that kind of stuff, with smart cities and convince us to go there, well, they got other ways that they're going to get us. And I think we got time for this last one, right?
Yeah, we do have time. We're cranking through it today.
Yeah. So Technocracy News, this is Patrick Wood's site, and I wanted to mention it because, again, they link to the actual documents that allegedly is part of the leak here. Leaked documents reveal plans for increased internet surveillance. And basically, let's see, the Open Rights Group. Go ahead.
I was just going to read this opening right here.
Okay.
It says, quote, like the U.S. government, the UK government is also seeking a backdoor into internet programs to spy on people in real time you understand real time? That means continuously 24/7. This would spell the absolute end of privacy and the beginning of scientific dictatorship or technocracy. If governments have ubiquitous powers of surveillance over citizens, does anyone really think they will be benevolent with that data? And that's technocracy. That's from the Technocracy News editor.
Right.
Because I just read a note from the editor.
Note from the editor.
You're welcome, editor.
Yeah. Well, yeah, so where was I? So the privacy organization Open Rights Group obtained a leaked copy of the government's draft technical capabilities notice regulation, which it had published on its website. The targeted consultation into the Investigatory Powers Act, which was brought up last year. And basically we were looking at the app, or not the app, but the document. And, it's basically, once you have a warrant, every, companies or every whatever, they have to create an open, basically a funnel or a tunnel or a portal or whatever.
Yeah, it's a backdoor.
Yeah, backdoor to that individual right away. And no ifs, ands, or buts. And
the interesting thing is, as it stands now, especially here in the U.S., is especially with the new changes that have happened recently with the legislation, is with a warrant, with permission from a judge, law enforcement can pretty much obtain all of your internet history, this as well as telecommunications history. This means recorded calls, text messages, browser data, any app that you use, things like that. Most apps are subject to this, even with encryption. Now, here's the difference. I believe, and I could be wrong on this, encrypted data does not need to be decrypted before it gets handed over to law enforcement. But what this is talking about doing is, again, with a warrant, this isn't without a warrant, but with a warrant and a day's notice, telecommunications companies and internet companies, chat companies, internet providers, everything like that, will be forced to provide police with real-time access to the person's activity. Now, this is real-time access, where before maybe they get your history, and they got to comb through your history, what you've done, where you've been, the text message, any messages you've sent, or phone calls. But now it's real time, so they can actually watch you do what you're doing in real time for 24/7, just no matter. And here's the thing. Obviously, this is being touted as a counterterrorism and crime fighting thing. And yeah, we want to catch the bad guys faster than anything. But it's just, it's getting blown wide open. It's no longer, they might see my history. It's, they may be seeing right this now. Exact thing and listening live on their, and it's just some, it's just weird, man. It's too much.
It is getting a little bit too weird out there. But yeah, that's, even in this article, which is linked to the Newsweek article, plans for increased internet surveillance revealed in leaked document. At the end here, they quote Sal Brinton, who's the liberal Democrat president of somewhere here. I don't know exactly, but
somewhere here.
He told technology news website The Register, quote, "These disproportionate powers are straight out of an Orwellian nightmare that have no place in a democratic society." So even the liberal Democrat looking at it going, this is a little too much.
It's a little much.
Yeah. So
all right, guys. So Gauntz, what's our Nephilim update?
Our Nephilim update is, if I can get to it here, it is
Last of the Nephilim.
Yes, written by Brian Davis. And actually, I was reading the description here, and I don't know. This person seems to have a little bit of working knowledge of our genre, so to speak. But trying to put it into kind of a kid's story type thing.
Is it pro Nephi?
I'm not sure. I think here, let me just read a couple lines here.
We need to buy pronephi.com right now.
Pro-Nephi.
Before anybody else does.
A single lie is spoken, allowing the Nephilim, a race of giants from ancient times, to invade Second Eden, a peaceful civilization in an alternate dimension. So again,
there you go.
But a little bit more here. While Earth and Hades are locked in a catastrophic merging of their two realms, the prophet Enoch works to gather an army of humans and dragons from each world to war against the Nephilim. So yeah, it's pretty intense.
Wow, that's intense. All right, there's your free buzz marketing. Last of the Nephilim. Thanks everybody for listening to Canary Cry News Talk. Make sure to tune in next week. But until then, think outside the cage.